Alright, so I'm in my kitchen slash dining room. You can see it behind me where I've made my crossbones and my samurai Maul. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a way to make Jason from Friday the 13th. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, this is a cheap mask you can probably get off Wish or eBay or something. I got it for like $2. I think it looks pretty good for $2. Works perfect, so I don't have to actually make one, spend money on one, because Warbler will cost a lot more to make, or to use to make, than this. So this looks great. What I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to cut one side of the mask from, I believe it was Friday the 13th 7, where he had his teeth kind of sticking out, and then he had that cut along the front of the mask where the axe hit him. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to put some Warbler behind here so the eyes look kind of deformed and puffy. And I'm also going to use Warbler, that's what it is, it's a thermal plastic, to basically create the misshapen head behind the mask. So all I have to really do is slip it on, and then it'll be his whole head with a deformed ear and everything. That's what's great about Warbler. You can kind of make anything out of it. If you look at my Darth Maul mask, that's actually made out of Warbler, if you can see it. So you can really get some detail in it if you really want to. Even the horns are Warbler. It was, made out of foil. I made the foil, shaped it, and then I put the Warbler over it. So pretty easy. You don't have to use tons of Warbler. Foil is what makes the shape, and then you just cover it so you can paint it or do whatever you want with it, distress it. So anyway, I only have these pieces of Warbler left, so I'm hoping to make this into a full head, and if I have time I might even throw in little hairs sticking out here and there so it gives it a little bit more depth. But what you want to do is I'm going to put this towards the ground here so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to start. Now notice the shiny side. I think the rougher side looks better as skin. So we can use that side to kind of shape it. And it's really just going to kind of almost bend and melt. And we can kind of piece it together, squeeze it, all that good stuff. Just don't light your carpet on fire. Oh no! Or just be careful not to heat the linoleum too much, or you're going to warp that as well. You could even burn it when you set down the heat gun on the actual linoleum in the kitchen. So be careful. I would almost say use like a cutting board or one of those that you can use, cutting boards for like X-Actos and stuff. That actually might be better. Let's see how far. I could actually cut this off because I can actually reattach these where I want it. So voila, I will cut this one and I will cut this one, and then reshape it a little bit because I want the mask to fit. It's basically gonna attach itself to the mask like this, if you can see that. So you can kind of see the idea that we're trying to get, right? Is you're trying to create, and it's okay if it gets wrinkles in it and stuff. You kind of want some of that little bit of you notice I'm pinching it together here. I'm kind of pinching the top a little bit and giving it a little bit of, you see that? There you go. So, kind of give it some of that, a little bit of that distress and kind of misshapen hills have eyes kind of head that it gets. And you can actually stretch this out a little bit too. Obviously I want it to cover almost all the way to my neck. So I'm going to see working on the back here. Just kind of folding some of it over, and you can always stretch it out and smooth it if you want a little more to it. I think I'm going to cut this piece off. Let's see. I think his ear is going to come over here somewhere. I'm just kind of figuring out where I want the most part of this warbler. So I want this side in. So cut off some spare pieces. You probably don't need that much, because we're going to need some for the teeth as well. Now, I don't want it to stick to it yet. So the sticky side is the adhesive side. It's kind of the smoother looking side. I don't really want it to stick to it, so try not to do it on this side, or it'll stick to it, you know. So, all right, let's see if I can just kind of stick it on there a little bit. Give it a little bit of a connection. And you notice I can also form an ear out of this once I heat it a little more and make it kind of mushy. Now, if you have a full piece of warbler, you can make this really amazing, but I'm having bits and pieces, and you can actually roll it out with like a rolling pin and make it into one big piece again. But I figured, you know what, this is going to have some character to it, and you know, if you have a lot more time, Halloween's in about what, a week and a half, so I'm thinking I'm just going to make it as good as possible without being a perfectionist about it, which I normally am. I normally like to be a perfectionist, but I don't think I really need to worry about it here, because I want some of that. Let's see if we can make an ear out of this. Here we go. That's the front of the head, so this is where the ear would be. And you want to create a pinch in there, kind of a deformed ear with the ear lobe. And sorry guys, I've had a kind of a cold. You might have to stretch this one out a little bit to fit the side, so I have something on that side. You see that? So let's do that. You gotta be careful. You can burn yourself pretty easy too, so just be real careful with it. But this can really stretch. I mean, it will break and create holes if you're not careful. It will stretch it to the point where it actually, you know, tears. So just be careful how you do that. But again, you know, let's see, where do I want this? Okay. So again, I might have to heat this one up quite a bit to get this to stretch. I want a lot of this to stretch. Be careful how you do this, because the adhesive's on one side of this. So be careful again. Okay, that feels sticky enough that I could probably stretch this out a little bit. And again, you can just kind of piecemeal it together. Here I created an actual tear, so I'll have to go in and fix that, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine fixing some of this, because I definitely know that some of this is going to have to do that. But again, you can kind of see where you'll start to again, stretch and form and all that good stuff, where you're kind of creating that head. And obviously I'm not going to finish it in this first spot, but I'm going to kind of show you how this comes together. I'm peeling it off the wood, and obviously you have to let it cool if you want it to conform perfectly to what it is that you want. But again, you don't also want it to stick to this. So you see what I mean? Is like pull it off, let it cool a little bit. You can reshape it every time. All you have to do is heat it up. But you see how it becomes kind of a cap. So you see how that works. So obviously I need to extend. Now the face mask will probably be around here is what I'm thinking. There, can you see that? Strap's kind of in the way. I don't have the strap on, but so you see how I need a little bit more warbler to kind of extend it a little further down. So I might stretch it a little bit. You see that? So I'm going to stretch it a little bit more and create that. You know, it'd be nice if you had all this extra. You can create the neck and everything and put the neck under. I mean, you could do that if you have any, if you have a lot of this. But, you know, let's see how it goes. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I will show you how it came out with that part. So I have the mask, and I was going to put some black around the eyes so that it's hard to see in. So I just found this material. It's going to be nighttime for most of when I wear this, so I took just a thin piece. Now it looks like it's translucent almost, or transparent, but really when you put it on the mask, it's going to cover the eyes, and since there's not going to be as much light coming through because your face is going to be in the way, it's going to be a lot harder to see. So I'm just going to hot glue it. So here we go. Just put some around the eyes. And don't take too long. And then go ahead and place it on. And I like this one because it had some crinkles in the material itself, so it kind of looks pretty cool from the outside. There you go. Pretty simple. Easy way to make it so it's hard to see the eyes. Alright, so I'm going to show you how you can fill in the little holes. Now, in the mask itself, if you can see, I don't know if you can see it all, but there's a couple areas that have a little bit of the silver foil shining through. I put the foil there so that it doesn't stick to the wooden head. But as you can see, I need to fill in some of those spaces so that it's not showing through. So basically I just cut little pieces of warbler, and I'm just going to show you how to blend it in. Let's see if we can see it from here. Let's do it right about there. Alright, and it's really easy. All you do is you heat it up. So every once in a while the piece might fly off, but don't worry about it right now. Just get placement, and I'm using the edge of a scissors, and I'm just kind of pushing them in. Okay, and we'll heat it a little longer so that we can make sure that we blend it a little better, but this will kind of push them in and start filling the gaps that we had there. So I don't know if you can see that. So you see how they're starting to stick in there. I'm going to keep doing that. Place that one. I might have to add one more little piece on this one, but I'm not sure. It looks not bad actually, but you can actually smush them around. But I like some of the look of it, kind of looking mottled, and where the skin might be thicker in some areas and more deformed or thin in others. I think that helps give it that look of kind of realism. But so if you can see, so there's a few places that as you heat it, you know, some parts will get thinner if you leave it too long. So, you know, I'll just cover some of that with a little extra pieces, or like right here. I don't know if you can see that. What I'll do is I'll heat that up and I'll just move it around. Just those thicker pieces of warbler there. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of move some of the warbler, the thicker pieces of warbler, onto that section. You can see that, but working that. I want to keep the shape the way I have it. Pretty close, and that's why I'm using the wooden head. You see how it's kind of closing off some of those silver areas there. So you just have to continue to push, and just be careful not to overdo it, because it will get thinner in some areas. So that's all you do. You keep doing that, and it will start to come together. Alright, so we'll keep working on that and we'll see how it comes. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing some grinding on the mask so we can kind of make it weathered. I noticed on the upper left side he has a machete cleave through the mask. I know on part 7, I think he had part of this side of his face also torn off where his teeth were. I don't have enough warbler to make the teeth part, but maybe I'll do that in a future one where I'll just add to this one. But you know, as you can see the black eyes that I added onto it. It's just that really light, if you look at it, light fabric, but it does enough to hide the eyes on it. But I'm going to use my Dremel, and I'm just going to cut the upper left side of the mask, so this side where my hand's on. I'm just going to cleave it right by the third air hole. So that's about where it's going to go, and then I'm going to weather it probably with some paint, splatter a little bit of blood on it, whatever, so we can get it a little better looking. So here goes. I'm going to take this outside. Now make sure you, if you can, wear like eyewear or something when you do this. One of my main ones broke, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw on some glasses. So, but you guys do what you need to do to keep your eyes safe so that you can use that, yeah? So. I'm going to switch this out. sand. Alright, so what I'm doing now is, if you put the fabric on the eye part of the mask, you will notice that it kind of touches your eyelashes. And to me it bothers me. I don't know if it's going to bother you, but a good way to fix this is if you look on the inside of the mask, there is little areas that you could actually put foam in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my hot glue gun, and I cut some strips of foam. Just look like this. You can buy them at most stores. I got mine at Harbor Freight. You can get different thicknesses. I think it's like I don't know, a 3 mil, 5 mil, and 9 mil or something like that in thickness. And as you can see, this is a 5. So what you can do is just put this on the inside where like the temples are, and it'll push it just enough away from your face, and it should be comfortable enough. You can also put one on the forehead if you want. I just opted to go for the temples, and we'll see how it goes. So you can do what makes you happy, what fits your face. So let's try this. So here we go. I'm just going to use the textured side, and as you can see, I'm just going to put some hot glue on it, and then I am just placing it right inside the temple area of the mask. Okay? And sometimes it gets all this little glue. You can just kind of rub it off into a little ball. Let me see how that's going to work. I think that's going to fit just fine. Now obviously if it bothers you, you can adjust it. Hot glue, the good thing about it is you can just pull it off and start it again. Or you can even reheat it. If you just real quickly use your heat gun on it, you can reheat it and pull it off right away and then re-stick it before it hardens. But as you can see, there we go. So that's what that looks like. And then all I need to do is see how it fits on my face. There you go. So as you can see, I think that's going to fit just fine. It keeps it just far enough away from my eyes. And I think I kind of like that. And for those of you, so I already set up basically a bloody shirt. It's just all beat up and sticky. All I did is pour a bunch of blood on that. I actually got this from a friend that does special effects stuff. We were doing a zombie take, and it's just something simple that you can do, is just pour some blood on there and make it look all beat up. Now on the jeans, I opted for less of the blood, but if you can see, I kind of rolled it around in some dirt on it. Actually got dirt from outside and rolled into it. I cut some of the pockets and stuff, made some holes and stuff like that, cut the bottoms. You can see there's some blood on the knees and thighs, stuff like that. The back, not a whole lot, but you know, there's some distressing there. So I'm using that with that. And then if you could see over here, I actually got an old jacket. It's kind of a paper style jacket from Tommy Hilfiger way back in the day, and I just happened to keep it. You see how it looks super distressed? I like that. What I might do is I actually might cut a little couple holes and then burn a few spots and just create a little more tatter to it. So that's going to be kind of the things I wear. It's going to be the jeans, the bloody shirt, and the jacket, the distressed jacket, along with you know, the mask with the headpiece. So again, that's kind of where I'm at with it so far. And then I do have some blood paint that I'm going to use just to splatter. I'm going to kind of fling it at the mask. I'm going to fling it at the head. I have a cheap chrome machete from Halloween City here that we had. And I'm just going to fling blood on it. And then I'm going to probably take a sponge, and I'll probably slather, or a brush, excuse me, and slather some of the blood on the edge of the blade, and then wipe it towards the blade like it was hacked into something that was bloody and pulled out, so it'll have kind of that lining in it. So that's kind of what I'm working on currently. Halloween's coming up. This is for my girlfriend's Freddy Krueger, and my boy's going to be Jigsaw, so I have to get him a wig. And his mask, I gotta open up the eye placement because it's an adult mask for a kid. So anyway, we're kind of classic monsters, classic horror icons. So yeah, that's kind of where we got so far. I was thinking about using the chain because I think in number 7 he wears a chain around. I have a little bit more links, so I'm going to probably make it a little longer. But pretty simple ways to add to the costume to really give it that look. So we'll see it as I progress further. All right. All the warble I had left. Actually, oh wait, no, I have this piece left, and that's it. So I ran out, so I'm not going to be able to do the mask part with the teeth. I would need a little more warbler than that, and this is getting stretched pretty thin. There's some parts that are really thin on here, but it's enough to make it about right. So if you can see, I put the little gash mark right as you would see it. Of course this is in the way right now, but right as you would see it there, and so it's going to be kind of sitting on my head like that. And I also made like an ear, basically kind of a deformed ear. You can make it nicer if you have more warbler. You can probably spend more time on it. I just wanted a general outline. And again, you can paint this as well. I'm thinking about just adding some paint and stuff, and I'll probably, if I do that, I'll show you. It's getting pretty close to Halloween, and so That's kind of what it looks like so far. But again, you know, I added some Dremel grinding kind of to give it some texture, to kind of wear it down a little. If you want, you can add some blood spatter to it. And of course, I also did add the chains, which is going to go over my neck like this, with the mask and the jacket, which of course I still might add some blood to this jacket, and I might even actually cut it up a little bit and burn some holes in it so it looks a little more weathered. I mean, things that won't take a lot of time, but it still takes some dedication to do it, right? Of course, there's my shirt. It's all bloody. Of course, my pants, tattered and beat. In one of them, I think he wears khakis, and others he wears jeans. So I'm just kind of doing a mixture, whatever I had. Since it's not a costume contest, I think it will be okay. So, other than that, I started kind of adding blood to the machete. So, you can tell there's parts of it. I'm probably going to add more blood spatter to it. And then, of course, that's what it looked like when I started. So, I just added some, like it got chopped and pulled out. And I'm going to add a little more blood towards the tip of the blade, because, of course, somewhere around here is where you're going to want a little extra blood, where it really chops into the head. You know, you're not going to necessarily chop into the head way down here, and not necessarily way up at the tip. So, you know, about a third of the way down is where I'm going to add a little extra blood spatter, and to that side as well. So yeah, so far that's the progress we have on the Jason mask. Again, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and I will show you what it looks like on in full costume. If I also do a little bit more of this burning, I'll let you see the burning of the jacket and some of that stuff that I need to do to add more details to this. All in all, I'm pretty happy with where it's going, and it's not taking me too long. So there you go. You guys can do the same thing. Another thing I did is I just hot glued a piece of foam to the inside to kind of keep it somewhat level, and it's going to be kind of, what I did is I just took a pair of scissors and I just created a gouge point where it's still going to keep the mask able to flip up and down, but it'll keep it in line with the scarring and the part of the mask there. And then I'm just going to hot glue it to the inside of that, so that basically it's just lined up just like that. And then I can kind of flip it up and down so it relatively stays in place. And then of course with the elastic strap, it's going to stay in place even better, because that's going to hold it to my head, and I don't really have to do a whole lot else to it. So here we go. I'm going to just hot glue it real quick, and then I can always add the paint and stuff to this as well if I want. Let's see here. Okay, so I want it right about there, and then I can push it from the inside. I want the mask to be down a little bit. Let's see how that goes. There we go. And then of course if I throw this over it, where it's going to be on my face, going to basically look kind of like that. My head and face about like that. So anyway, you can see where that's kind of the Jason's deformed head. It's pretty much in a good alignment there, and it's something that I can slip on and off relatively easy. Let's see if you can see that here. So just push it past my ears, and voila, we have a relatively good fit. So again, relatively good fit. And again, you can kind of add, if you need to add warbler as needed to cover whatever your ears, or if you want to add more to the jawline, or like I said, cut the mask out and add the teeth to it. But I think all in all it looks relatively good like that. So again, you can see that all the way. Alright, so I'm applying the blood to the machete. The first one I did, it was alright. I added some blood spatter to it and some of the lines towards the front. But I found a better, I like this look better. And all I'm doing is I'm just squeezing a little bit of it out the tip of the nozzle, and I'm just kind of tapping, adding where I want it, kind of making it fling everywhere. And of course you want to get it closer to the edge of the blade so that you can get, you know, that's where it usually will scrape at it. And it looks a little more blood-like if you look. You see how that looks? A little more like it's splattered. I'll probably still have to, I'm going to add the brush stroke to it a little bit, where I might just add a little bit here and there so I can get some of the blood spatter on there. And then that way it can kind of give it a different kind of look there. Might add a little bit here and there. Make sure the blade is covered. And then where, you know, it might splatter and fly and kind of hit the tip. So I'm just kind of doing that, you know, adding some of that to that. So it looks a little more kind of fun, splattered that way. Versus the other side looks a little more chaotic, which could happen, I guess. That's kind of how it would look. But I kind of like that look. It's a little more, I don't know, artsy, I guess. So anyway, you pick the method that you like and what looks better to you. I'm going to make some go in a different direction. But of course most of it's going to go the same direction because that's the way you're cleaving the victim's skull. So, but of course when you pull it out the blood will fly everywhere, right? So you want to kind of give it a little bit of a splatter that way, just so it has some different movement to it. And that's the same thing. I'm just going to kind of cover some of this and color it so it has a little bit of a different movement to it. And we'll see kind of what happens to it here. Because really, that looks a little better. I'll have to add just a smidge more here and there. And again, I don't want to overdo it on this side since I already started it, so I'm stopping it there. Okay, so both sides. And now we have $4 machete with a $2 acrylic, and we made it a little cooler than what you would see for like $12 to $15 or $20 in the stores. So there we go. That's the machete. As you can see, my machete is sitting up there, drying. So now we have the head of Jason. And I'm going to be adding some coloring to the skull. I didn't have a lot of paint. So actually I found some old, this is my girlfriend's eyeliner. It's kind of a dark green. So I'm going to use this because he starts getting a little mossy and swampy. I have a regular green too. Then I have like a beige. And I'm going to just add some highlights and lowlights to the face. I might even mix some of the green and beige so on this newspaper so that I can actually maybe
get some different color out of it. But first, I'm going to use, let's see, where did I put my brush here? I'm going to use just a basic brush, and I'll start adding some of the beiges to it. So you can just pour some on the newspaper here, just kind of swirl it around, and add it kind of anywhere there's like kind of bumping or something like that. You can add some of that on there. Now, I think I'm going to need to add a little bit of water to this because I don't want it this bright. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to add, let's wipe this real quick. And it wipes off okay, and you can add it probably to the cracks of it. You see what that does? It just adds, I don't know if you can see that here. It's just very, very little bit. But of course, if you add this all the way throughout, I'm just going to wipe here and there. Because what this is going to do is it's going to give it some realism. Make it feel a little more alive. And you notice there's some now getting on the actual napkin or paper towel. And so I can actually use it to kind of wipe here and there. And that'll give it some more of that. And I'll show you here in a second if you can't see it. I'll boost you up onto the chair here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's add a little bit here by the scarring from the machete in his skull. Really, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need, unless you're going to spend a lot of time on it for like a specific costume contest or something, you really are probably not going to need to spend hours on it. Again, that's up to you. You know, if you want to spend the time, you can do that. And like I said, Halloween's coming up. It's within 5 or 6 days, so I'm going to just kind of make it a little quicker the way I want it, because it needs to be ready for Halloween or any contest or I'm sorry, parties you go to or whatever. Again, if you do it for a contest, you can spend more time on it, but again, you can make some of the skin that pops up and over, that's deformed, that's going to be kind of pulled away from the skull maybe, and of course it's going to be thinner where it's stretching a little bit. There you go. You can see here, I'll add a little more. There we go. See, it's a little light, too light there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down, add a little more, wipe, add some variants. And of course, when you start adding the other colors, it's going to help you give it even more realism. Use up what I had as far as what was on the plate here. So don't miss too many spots. I mean, have it all over the place so it doesn't look like you are neglecting anything. And of course you will have different colors, so we'll get around to that. use up what's left. Here we go. Wipe it down so it gives it less of that harsh look. You want it to be just a little more highlight again, so that you're highlighting some of the crevices and the features in there. Does that make sense? So there we go. I'll kind of do a work around here for you. I don't know if the light's good enough that you can see it, but as you can see, it adds just a little bit more to that skull, a deformed look. Now, let's go to the next lighter color, which the lightest we used. Now I'm mixing in the green with the beige. It's going to give it a kind of a sickly green. And again, I'm just going to add maybe just a little bit here and there. Just a little bit. I don't like this color as much, but it's going to add. Okay, I'll do it here where you can kind of see. You see the color it is? I don't know if you can tell. So right now I don't like that color, right? It's just a little too bright. So once I wipe it in though, you see what that did? It just added a little bit of a sickly green to the skin. Enough that it's a totally different color than the one I used before, the beige that I used. And so that's again adding more to that skin tone to give it that look, you know? So again, I'm just adding here and there. Don't let it get too dark in areas. Again, you're just kind of adding. Maybe add around the ears here, inside the ear, because that we want to add a little bit more color to the ear, show that it's a little bit different. And I'm going to add even more shadow to the inside of the ear as we go, but we don't want to knock that over. See that? It's adding a little more of that sickly look to his head, which is exactly what we want. Because Jason's been sitting and rotting in the ground for a little while, so we want the skin to be falling off. Now you can add hair to this too. I thought about taking some, just buying a cheap brush and using the little hairs on the brush and melting them down so that they kind of stick and fall in different ways, and then heating it up and just sticking it into the warbler. That's the great thing about warbler, is once you heat it up it gets soft again, so you can start adding more things to it. And so that's one way to think, you know, to do it. You can just kind of add stuff as you go. I don't know if I want to add all the hair to it. I'll look at it when it's done and then I'll decide. So again, let's see if you can see this as I go. I don't want the face to get into the paint, but use a bigger piece of newspaper if you're going to do it. I just figured I wasn't thinking about turning it, so here we go. So here's the ear again. And again, wipe it down a little bit. You have to have some pretty grody ears, so there we go. There's some ears and some green stuff growing on his head, some decay, or as Bob Ross would say, happy little trees. So there you go. Let's make some happy little trees. Some moss here. Some deadwood here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's add some of that in there.
Alright, so let's add some greenness around the scar tissue here and make it kind of grody looking, because I'll probably add a little bit of red in there too and some black. So we're done with that. Now let's go into the actual green. Let's use just a little bit, probably not a heck of a lot, but I'll just add a teeny bit here and there, maybe towards the darker edges of this, where I might want it to be in like crevices and stuff. Let me grab a new one, that way we can... Actually, you know what? Instead of green, I think I'm just going to add that dark green eyeliner part to it. And maybe, just maybe some black. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see what it looks like here. So here's this kind of dark green. This is used for, like, my girlfriend used it for poison ivy, for tattooing kind of leaf patterns on certain things on her. So let's see what it looks like. You can almost use it as a pen or pencil and draw into places where we want the shadowing. Okay, and again, you don't want to do it everywhere. You want to just give it enough that it looks sickly, decayed, rotting. That way. So again, you know, you can probably take a wet paper towel and actually move it around in there. Dry one seems to work just fine with this specific type of eyeliner, as long as it's just been applied. Obviously, if it's been a while, you let it sit for a while and it's going to be too much. So let's just take a little bit here and there, add some highlights, I mean lowlights now this time. Just kind of get it in there where the skull is kind of really adding some lighting effect to this. Because even though the shadow will hit it in those areas anyway, you want to still add some of those to your crevices, so that, you know, it adds some pop to it. Even more shadowing gives it even more. So especially around this, I don't know if you can see here. Let's turn this around. See this, where I made the machete strike. Let's get in there deep and see if we can make it look pretty grotesque. The skin around it is scarred up, scar tissue. Okay, let's soften it a little bit now. There we go. So it's adding some detailed effects to it. So I'm just going to keep going this way, and I'm going to add maybe some reds to it, just for some blood spatter, maybe dark mixed with black, and then I'm just going to continue highlighting that. So I'll show you this when it's done. Alright, so I've got most of what I wanted done on this. There's a few more pieces here, maybe around the ears, that I want to get, you know, especially because this is kind of where his ear canal would probably be, and just kind of around that. And again, like I said, you know, if you had some warbler. Hey buddy, what do you think?
I like it.
So, here's Riley. So he's going as Billy from Saw, and so his mask is over there with his wig. But you know, so we're adding some of that. And here's the. So it's basically an adult size, but I cut out the edges a little bit. I added some foam to the inside of it and tightened the string so that it sits on his face a little better. I cut the eyes inward, dremeled it inward a little more, so I could add the red around it. But again, with the hair on it, it's going to pull a little bit away from his face, so it'll be easier for him to see without his eyelashes touching that.
Yeah, because like when I don't like when eyelashes touch.
Yeah, so with the hair, it's going to push it away from your head just a little bit. So, all right. So anyway, this is it. I think I've pretty much got what I needed out of it. There's a few crevices here and there that I'm going to finish up with. But again, you can kind of see where it's kind of framing it and making it look a little more. And again, it's going to fit on me more like this. So again, now he has an ear, kind of you can see from far back, and I'm going to have to add a little bit more to that.
I like the moss.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we have to do, and then we'll finish it
Subscribe to
up.
my channel, YouTube.
RuTube is his channel. He also has Ru Gamer Zone. And then, of course, Adamantium. So, here we go. Adamantium Cosplay signing out. Alright, so here is the finished look. I think I'm going to have this zipped up. And, of course, I don't know if you can see can't really see the jeans in this right now, but this is kind of the look I'm going to go for. There's some holes in it. I'll see if you can see it here. Don't mind the mess on the floor. I'm just trying to figure it all out. So again, there's a little bit of blood and stuff here and there if you look at the jeans. And then I have the gloves. So gloves are kind of the rawhide gloves. I have the shirt. It's kind of bloody. And then the mask itself, I will put over my ears. Make sure that it fits how I want it to. I want the chain around my neck. Gives it. Why didn't you guys say something? But that's it. Jason made pretty simply. Didn't really cost me anything because I just used some old clothes and some fake blood, a little bit of war blood that was left over, and there you go. So like, subscribe, that's it. It's made pretty simple, pretty easy, and gives it a little bit of a cool horror look for something that's really cheap. Mask was about $5, I believe, from Wish. The Warbler is the most cost, but that's if you have to go buy it. I just used scraps that I wasn't using for over a year. Boom, there it is. You can add faux leather or real leather straps if you want to make it a little more. I used my Dremel for the cuts, added some paints that I already had around the house, added some of that to make it look like moss and a little bit of blood, added the blood to the blade. That was pretty simple, gives it a better look. Gloves I used from actually my father's gardening gloves. And I remembered he had these, and this is what he uses to pull weeds and push the mower in, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, that worked perfectly. Green jacket, it was just falling apart anyway. So I just added more holes. Chains, cheap. You can get them for at least less than 10 bucks at a Halloween store right now. Old pair of jeans or khakis, tear it up, throw in some fake blood. Probably cost you about $5. I just had some kind of fake lugs there. You can throw in black or this color. I just figured that color matched that. So it tied it in just perfectly. Old t-shirt. Throw in blood on that. you're good to go. You got Jason. So hope you liked it, you guys. Comment, let me know if you want to see more like this, just kind of simple do-it-yourself ones. Otherwise, you know, we have these that take a lot longer, but you know, it is what it is. So hope you liked it. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.